Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adam Anderson, and I am the pastor here at South Jacksonville Presbyterian Church, and it is my honor to be able to have our space open here to celebrate the life of Jason Braddock. I was saying earlier to some of the family, I didn't have necessarily the privilege to know Jason, but each of you being here this evening and the stories I've already heard and the pictures I have seen show me a lot about the character and the person that he is. And so it's a gift for me this evening to be able to learn about somebody who clearly had a very deep and meaningful impact to so many people. Just want to give a couple procedural things. If you are looking for a bathroom, as you came into the door, it's back there in that hallway. There are a couple bathrooms there. If you are looking for a glass of water or a cup of coffee, they are on the other side in that alcove over there. If you need a break, or if you have a child that needs a break, if you head back behind the sanctuary, there's a space there. We've got some chips there too, in case you're looking to nosh. But in any case, you got to do what you got to do. But again, thank you for allowing us to be able to open up our space to help celebrate Jason tonight. It is an honor for us to be able to take care of each of you and our community in this way. And so with that, I did not want to forget, the family had wanted you to be sure to sign the jersey in the back if you have not done that already. And please take some time, if you'd like to take a look at all the pictures. I got to say, this is a wonderful use of this space. It's the first time I've seen a cycle up here, and I kind of like the way it looks. So it's a nice thing to add here. But please feel free, spend time, be with one another, and we'll just feel like whenever we're ready, we'll get ready. So.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jason's cousin, Candice, his much younger cousin, as I would tell him. I still like to think so. Jason and I actually grew up together across the street from each other, which was, I don't know if our parents were happy with that decision in the end, but we had some great adventures. I would go to their house to, play with all the cool boy toys because we were a girl house and we didn't have any of the fun stuff. And also, he taught me every board game and kicked my butt in all of them. And I solved the mysteries of Carmen Sandiego at his house and learned to survive the Oregon Trail. But really, we went to his house because his house always had the good snacks. And you can tell by the table at the back of the room, they still represent that really well. Me being his much younger girl cousin never seemed to bother him. And he taught me important things like the greatness of the Smashing Pumpkins and how to fight other neighborhood kids with bottle rockets. These are things that in a girl house you don't learn. So, street smarts mattered. In short, I thought my big cousin was the coolest guy on the planet growing up, the big brother my all-girl house never had. And as we grew older, I watched that same care for people expand to literally everyone he encountered in life. See, Jason knew what he believed, what he stood for, what he was passionate about, my goodness. And when it came to people, he had a way of making you feel as if whatever you thought, however you were wired, whatever you cared about and knew were the most important things to talk about in the room in that moment and in every conversation. As we grew up and chose our paths, Jason was the guy that you could entrust to put the effort in, to keep in touch, to reach out when he was in town, to make dinner reservations. I could barely remember to do my laundry, and he'd be like, I'm going to be in town tomorrow. Are we going to have dinner? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what grown-up friends do. They work on those things. But I always loved that about him because he taught me just through his day-to-day actions, how much it mattered to invest and truly love people just as they were. As a dad, when Harper smiled or spoke, his world stopped. There was one thing that will never be in question, and that is that Harper, your daddy loved you so much. At every stage, Jason could be counted on to invest in time with you and to keep a friendship going, to ask how you were and really mean it. He was a gifted artist, an ardent carnivore. If anyone follows him on social media, the meal plate pictures were always insane. And as anyone in our immediate family will understand, he was one of the most Braddock of Braddocks around. His social media posts, he earned the name. But as I tried to summarize him for today, I was truly at a loss. Because the truth is, we can use moments at the end of someone's life to explore so many roads. But when I look at this life in particular, my cousin was always growing, always evolving, and always loving. We talk about faith and spirituality from so many different angles, and when we wrestle in these moments of goodbye, but I think before he left us, he seemed to have always had one piece figured out. Jason understood that the best we could hope for was experiencing new things, connecting with people, enjoying the art and the beauty of the moments we have in life, and most importantly, to always just love. I can't think of a better legacy than that, to be known as someone who truly invested in relationships one-on-one and in every interaction. Oddly enough, I was trying to find song lyrics from one of his bands or a poem that really summarized him, and I kept going back actually to a section of scripture that I just think he epitomizes. It's this: if I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all of God's secret plans and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains but I didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. Love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way, it is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth runs out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Prophecy and speaking in unknown languages and special knowledge will become useless, but love will last forever. Now our knowledge is partial and incomplete, and even the gift of prophecy reveals only part of the whole picture, but when the time of perfection comes, these partial things will become useless. 3 things will last forever: faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. And that is who he was. As you sit here in these next moments, take a moment of silence and reflect on that and the legacy of someone who, at some point, you in this room had look you in the eye and make you feel like you were the most important person in their world. And that is who he always was to me, and who I'm sure he was to you at different moments. I'm going to pray, but feel free to use this time as a moment of reflection and thinking about someone who meant so much to us all. God, thank you so much for this family. Thank you for this life. Thank you for my cousin that just always cared so much about everyone, no matter who they were, no matter what they cared about, no matter what they thought, and just accepted them as they were and gave them genuine intention in his life, God. We pray that his legacy be a blessing on the souls here, God, and that you would just bless this evening as a celebration of who he was and how he loved us all. Amen. Jason's sister, Jen, is going to come up and share now.
Candice is a tough act to follow, and I think Jason is even tougher. You know, I'm really honored to call Jason my brother, and it's just a testament of Jason that you look around the room, and only Jason Braddock could bring all of us together in a church, right? we were very different. I have a hard time coming up and talking in front of people, so thank you for letting me do this. Jason fronted a band, right? Like, he had no shame in just standing up, being the center of the room, being the center of attention, and I'm just like, I can't do that. I'm super introverted, and I keep to myself, but Jason was a social butterfly. Again, I can't say this enough. Jason never met a stranger, right? He'd walk up to anyone and start a conversation, and he'd have a friend for life. And he loved to have, like, just conversation about everything, and he didn't mind having civil disagreements, and he'd always hear your side, right? He always listened, and I think that's a hard quality to find in people these days, is someone who actually listens. He was creative, he was smart, he was funny. His talents never went to waste, and I love how he always laughed at his own jokes, even if no one else laughed at him. And Jason's laugh, oh my goodness, you could hear it from like 3 rooms over, right? He was larger than life, and he had a lot of love to give, and he loved every single person that's in this room right now and more. And I don't think he had a mean bone in his body at all. Like Candice said, Jason loved to eat, try new foods. If you followed him on social media, though you saw a lot of food pics, he'd make sure to tell you about it, or again, share the picture. Jason had no sense of urgency. One of my memories, and this happened more than once, obviously, but I'd get in the car with him, and we'd sit there for 5 minutes while he was just picking out a CD to listen to. Yesterday, when I asked Mom what time we needed to get here, and she said, I don't remember, no, 5, I'm just making up a number, we need to be here at 5, I had to keep myself from saying, hey, make sure you tell Jason 4 so he'll be there on time. Jason had no shame, and Jason had no filter. Mom actually threatened to unfriend him on Facebook if he didn't tone it down. You think I asked her, and she was like, no, I threatened. I think you did. Jason was an expert on everything, too. Every year at Bike and Mess, he knew hour by hour how fast the wind was going to go, in what direction, and what the chance of rain was going to be. So that was him. And while we're talking about that, I think being a member of Team Left Hand and being a runner, that was just part of his identity. It really was. And I have to say, being his sister is part of mine. Now, I would say, I don't want to speak ill of the dead and call Jason irresponsible, but I know Mom used to call him Mr. Forgetful. He would go to school. I heard these stories about how he would forget his socks. And we went to a Catholic school, by the way. He would forget his socks, and then he'd have detention and demerits and all this stuff. Mom would have to go get him. Mom was even like, I don't know why I didn't think to just keep a pair of socks, because this happened more than one time. And he would, he would remember things that morning, right? Like, oh, by the way, Mom, we have a school play tonight, and I need this costume. Things like that. When I got into the first grades, we ended up going to the same school, and he was in 7th or 8th grade. And I always thought it was funny that if, small school, just one classroom with like 20 kids, small school, so it's normal for the parents to communicate to the office, and again, this is back in the 80s. I always thought it was funny that Mom would send, if she needed to get something to the front office, she would send it with the 6-year-old and not the 12-year-old, 13-year-old. I know that if I died today, I would be like, oh, I should have done this. Why didn't I do that? But I know Jason would say, no regrets. Not at all. He did it his way. Now, we do have some common traits, like Jason has a really strong work ethic. He's sensitive, he's empathetic. We're both athletic, and Jason always put others first, no matter what. When I came along, my parents didn't know what to name me, and so they turned to Jason and they said, what should we name him? Oh, without a beat, Jennifer, because there were 5 of them in his class and he liked all of them. So that's how I'm Jennifer. So I just want to share some memories, right? We grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, and we lived in this one house, and one of my memories from there is we got a pool put in, and Jason and I were swimming in it while it was filling up. We had, if you've ever been in one of those houses that has, I guess they call it like a bridge. So if you go upstairs and you can stand on this, like almost like being up in a balcony, and you can see in the room below you. We had 2 cats, and Jason used to throw the cats from the bridge onto the sofa. Hey, look, they land on their feet. One time, the parents were gone, and I remember being in their room, and Jason was tickling me. And I was like, stop, obviously I'm laughing. Stop, you gotta stop tickling me, I'm gonna pee in my pants. He didn't stop. He kept tickling me, stop, I'm gonna pee in my pants. I peed in my pants. He didn't stop. The Simpsons was something that we shared, and it came out when I was in first grade, and I have a vivid memory of sitting and watching it with my brother, because we have such great parents. They also let us watch Pet Sematary when it came out, and I was really little. I was probably like 6 or 7, and I go to bed, and my dad worked a graveyard shift, so he was gone all night. I go to bed, and Jason, can I sleep with you? Mom's like, you can sleep in the hallway, that's close enough. When Gremlins 2 came out, I remember going to the movie theater with him, and he had a deviated septum, so he just had some nose surgery, and we were the only ones in the theater. And at the very end, we were like dancing down the aisle, or maybe I was, like, In high school, his nickname was Keanu. You'll see some pictures. What? If you see some of his high school pictures, you can understand why. So after high school, he followed his girlfriend to Savannah. Meanwhile, they closed the shipyard where my dad worked, and he got a job in Kings Bay, which is why we ended up here. So that's sort of how we ended up in Jacksonville. So before we bought a house and settled down in a house, we rented a house, and it was a 2-bedroom. Well, guess what? After we get in there, Jason's like, I'm moving back. So guess who got to share a room with Jason? I have, again, vivid memories in that room, like how our beds were set up, where the TV was, and we would always play Gauntlet 2, Legends of Zelda, over and over again. And I think my favorite memory from that room is we're sleeping one night. So now, mind you, I'm like 12 or 13, Jason's like 20. We're sleeping, and Jason wakes up and, I just had a dream. I was abducted by an alien. Can I come sleep with you? I have always thought my brother was the coolest as a kid up until now. He would take me to band practice as a kid. I remember going to James's garage and watching soiree practice. My first tattoo is a soiree tattoo, by the way. He would take me to shows. I mean, I don't know. I thought that was so cool. Just as a teenager, he would take me to all these shows. So I got introduced to good music at a pretty young age. We went to this one show. I want to say it was Ozma, and it might have even been in Atlanta. I remember us driving there. We're in a packed room. Jason starts sweating. Shocker. It's packed in there. Takes his shirt off. And the girl behind him goes, ugh. And Jason's like, oh, do you want to put it back on? Yeah, please. Jason got the Sicilian side of the family for sure. I got the mutt. Again, more memories of watching 120 Minutes at night, Beavis and Butthead, back when MTV was good. We recorded a lot of this stuff on VHS. And then The Simpsons. I had so many VHS tapes of The Simpsons. He went through a beanie phase. I remember, I think this was in the grunge days. He went through a beanie phase, and Mom used to call it his homie hat. And I think he stopped wearing it because he saw that his hair was thinning. So I swear Jason had 9 lives. Several years ago, I hope you guys don't mind me telling these stories. Several years ago, Jason was driving around the parking. This is the story we got. Driving around the parking lot of the Regal Cinemas and Avenues, and somehow straddled a mattress. Car caught on fire, and he burned the car to the ground. When I heard about that, I was like, what? After that, he was driving and hit a curb and flipped his car and went to the hospital. And he was the only one in the car. I was so lucky. Jason liked to go out and have fun. You know, Jason, like his friends, his social life was important. But we saw a huge maturity change with Jason when Harper was born. He was an amazing dad. He always put her first. I was particularly blown away with how Jen and Jason raised this child. They did things that I've never seen people do. And she's turned out, and she's still growing, and she's amazing. And Harper, you are his legacy. And I'm so glad that you're old enough to have some memories with him, right? He is a little more adventurous with food, so we might need to work on that one with you. And I know that you've lost your biological father, but because of the man your dad is, everyone in this room is keeping their eye out on you. And I'm so grateful that we, as a family, we all got to spend some time together up in the mountains, even if it was like a really short amount of time. But classic Jason, his last Strava entries are from snow tubing and riding a roller coaster. There is no question that Jason was taken from us too soon. And as one of his friends said, he's going to leave a hole in this town. He's going to leave a hole in this world. But he lives on in all of us and what he taught us, and we should make an effort to be more like Jason. So next time you find your pants sagging down, just embrace that butt crack showing. When someone texts you, just say, KK. Don't hesitate to bring it in for a hug and say, I love you. Don't be ashamed to tell how you really feel. And next time you're given a piece of information, really think about it. Get that mind going. Analyze that information. But always be true to yourself, no matter what anyone else thinks. Most importantly, look out for each other. Jason was a thinker, he was a doer, and in his honor, live the life you love and love the life you live.
So remember, take good care of the earth, or we could suffer the same fate as the dinosaurs.
Ooh, kids, did you hear that lesson? How is that the lesson? The point of the dinosaurs is, no matter what we do, an asteroid's gonna wipe us out. So we should party hard and wreck the place.
Well, it's alright, riding around in the breeze. Well, it's alright, if you live the life you please. Well, it's alright, doing the best you can. Well, it's alright, as long as you lend a hand. You can sit around and wait for the phone to ring, waiting for someone to tell you everything. Sit around and wonder what tomorrow will bring. Maybe a diamond ring. Well, it's alright, even if they say you're wrong. Well, it's alright, sometimes you gotta be strong. Well, it's alright, somewhere down the road when somebody plays at the end of the line, the purple haze. Well, it's alright, even when push comes to shove. Well, it's alright, if you got someone to love. Well, it's alright, everything will work out fine. Well, it's alright, we're going to the end of the line. Don't have to be ashamed of the car I drive. The end of the line. I'm just glad to be here, happy to be alive. The end of the line, and it don't matter if you're by my side. The end of the line. I'm satisfied. Well, it's alright, even if you're old and gray. Well, it's alright, you still got something to say. Well, it's alright, remember to live and live. Well, it's alright, the best you can do is forgive. Well, it's alright, riding around on the breeze. Well, it's alright, if you live the life you please. Well, it's alright, even if the sun don't shine. Well, it's alright, we're going to the end of the line. The end of the line. The end of the line. Going to the end of the line.
So as you know, Jason is the firstborn, and man, there are thousands of pictures of him. He's probably the most documented person I know, and we can't even get into his phone. I'd love to see what's in there, or maybe not. When we were going through our grandparents' things, we found these Mom found these photo albums of us growing up and passed them on to us. Jason had 8, like they were numbered. Jason 1, Jason number 2. Jason had 8 photo albums. You know me? I had 2. And I'm still finding more. I guess with the second child, you're just kind of on autopilot. And I hope he'd be okay with me using Traveling Wilburys because he's some of the greatest musicians and songwriters of our time. So maybe somewhere down the road a ways we'll think of Jason and wonder where he is these days. Jason, wherever you are, I know you're snuggling with Einstein. I know you're jamming with Brian Hicks. Probably talking the state of the world with Uncle Tom. But I know you've gotten all the grandparents together and you're sitting down eating meatballs. And it's okay to be sad. It's okay to grieve. It's part of life. But Jason won't want us to keep going because life is too short not to make the best of it. Thank you.
Anyone one with this much of a display. Probably has some friends who would like to share as well, so we want to offer that time for everyone. Now feel free to come up and do so.
Thanks for being here. The only thing I really want to say is, in that last moment, when his life flashed before his eyes, this is what he saw. Thank you.
You might want to get that. My name is Eric Jenkins. Just kidding. My name is Grant Nielsen. I've been asked to say some words for Eric because he couldn't be with you here in person today. He was among Jason's very, very best friends, and he's out of the country right now, and he's asked me to say some words. To everyone here, I send my love, especially Christine, Derry, Jen Braddock, Jen Lofberg, Harper Rose Braddock, and their entire extended family. I'm here with you today in spirit. I could talk for hours about Jason, but instead I'll share a few meaningful stories about our friendship, which began around 2002 on AOL Instant Messenger and some online band forums. Jason and I coincidentally attended the same Catholic school system in Charleston, and just at separate times. Later in life, Jason and I bonded over music and life. One summer, Jason and I recorded drums together in my studio on Bay Street when the air conditioner broke, and despite the heat, Jason delivered an incredible, punishing performance. He cared deeply about every single note and always showed up for music. He came to every show, ready to load gear, help out, promote my music, always with selfless enthusiasm. He gave all of his support to others' creative pursuits. When I was laid off from my job, I felt mad, defeated, sad. Jason invited me over, and one morning made me breakfast and reminded me of my value. He encouraged me, and that day I knew I had a true friend in my corner. Jason was always generous, and he was always uplifting. And later, when my band needed new members, Jason auditioned to play drums. He was big and loud and passionate. And when we asked him to audition for guitar instead, he agreed without hesitation. He knew the songs inside and out and played with intuition and energy. Jason had an encyclopedic knowledge of music, blending punk and post-rock and other influences. And after some lighthearted hazing, we welcomed him into the band. His unique perspective challenged and elevated our music. And he brought grit and passion to every rehearsal and performance. We shared countless meals in Jacksonville, and he even inspired me to buy my first Cannondale, and we spent hours riding together. He was a vocal advocate for bike safety and enduring many close calls himself on the road, and he even tackled the challenging MS-150 ride. Jason's love of exercise and health motivated everyone around him. He was also a masterful troll. One time he showed up wearing the exact same quirky shirt I had recently bought just to tease me. He was hilarious, blunt, and frankly, we shared many of the same neurodivergent traits. Our text conversations were filled with memes and pun warfare. Jason's humor and creativity were unmatched. I remember the day that Jason told me he was going to be a dad. I was at the hospital when Harper was born. Jason's parents and I waited together on the other side of that door, and I got to see Harper shortly after. As an infant, Harper and I instantly bonded. In 2015, my wife and Adeline and I moved to Oregon. We visited Jacksonville annually, and I stayed with Jason. Harper referred to the guest room as Eric's room. Like her dad, Harper is kind and curious and engaging. Jason adored her and often spoke about her creativity and intelligence. He told me many times that being Harper's dad was the greatest thing in his life. Jason and I supported each other through countless life changes. Even during periods of quiet in our friendship, I always knew he was there for me. His loss is hard to articulate. He wasn't just a friend, he was my brother. Jason, I wish I could tell you how much you have changed my life. Your entire community misses you. You will always be a part of all of us. Missing man formation forever. Eric Jenkins. While we were sitting here, hearing stories, perspectives from him, Randy mentioned what a big life he's lived. I mean, even as young as he was, he's lived countless lifetimes of experiences. He just attacked life. And you think about the disciplines that he was a master of, whether it was music or athleticism, community, just an insatiable thirst for knowledge. We should all take a page out of his playbook. I never told him while he was alive, and it'll be a great regret of mine, but he was one of the most emotionally present fathers I have ever met in my life. Even now, I feel like I'm learning lessons in the way that he approached fatherhood and parenthood and being a co-parent, and Harper, you were his whole life. We'll just miss you so much, Jason.
Good evening, everyone. If my voice tightens up, I apologize. It's a little bit nerve-wracking for me to feel instigated by my friendship with Jason Braddock to stand before all of you. And he loved you very, very much. He loved you so much. I think I knew Braddock probably 20. We were over at Steve Creel's house. Schwallow was randomly playing, and that was kind of the roots of our friendship. Bars, random interaction. I'm very analytical. With Braddock, I could always, we could bounce. We could go real deep. We could talk about music. We could cut up. We could get crazy. So it was just this natural flexing spectrum that we had. And we always kind of ran in the same circles, a lot of love for music. And I kind of got out of bands and kind of really naturally introspective, introverted. Sometimes I get shy around people, believe it or not, so here I am before all of you. But my love for music was always there, so he actually multiple times approached an amazing young woman that I was dating at the time, and practically begged her to play music with me. And one time he came up, and he had a way of believing in me and seeing things in me that, not that I couldn't see them, what's up, dude? Not that I couldn't see them, but he had a way of elevating you and supporting you and believing in you. So he came up, he's like, Brandon, I just kept waiting for your voice to crack. You just kept hitting these notes, and I just kept waiting for the failure, waiting for the fall. Not because he wanted me to fail or to fall. And that's one thing that really made Braddock absolutely spectacular and beautiful, is because he would push you and elevate you and believe in you. So just randomly, I called my best friend Bert, which Bert Hood and Monica, I'm sure, would absolutely love to offer their words and feelings right now. Just randomly, just had practice. And 4 years of my life I spent with that man in a room, just nonstop writing and bouncing ideas off of each other. When you speak of things like intuition, and there was just a way that we could feed off of each other and inspire one another. He was a guitar player, completely different shades of characters, but just the way that they can actually blend and create something so much larger. It was absolutely beautiful. And I think that's kind of what tragedy I feel right now. It's not just for the music, but there's just so much that he offered to so many people in so many different lights, so many different circles. You know, some people only, they exist in, you know, particular shades and color, but he was all over the place with so many different people. And in a very, very troubling and trying time. I'm not very good with emotional trauma with people. I love very, very deeply and very passionately. And, you know, sometimes that fire burns really, really hot. Braddock appreciated that and supported that. He had a way of looking into me and feeling me and believing in me. If I walked into a room, never alone with him there, never. So, my heart to all of you.
Hello, my name is Dennis Myers, and it's good to see y'all. Sorry it's like this. I was in Soiree with Jason. We started in 1998. We played for about 20 years off and on through many different variations of the band. People came and go, kind of like the drummer in Spinal Tap. And I love every one of them and every version that we had. I love all you guys like brothers, and I don't know if you're here or not because I'm too chicken to look around. So Jason taught me to play bass. I remember the first song was Green Glass by Jawbox, and he said, this is easy. It's just 2 notes. You just put your finger there, and you put your finger there. And I said, all right. And I became the bass player for that band. And I wanted to come up and offer kind of a funny story about being in a band, because you know I had a million stories about Jason. Jen, you're right about him having 9 lives, and you mentioned Brian Hicks. Brian Hicks saved his life one time, and I don't want to say it in front of his parents, but yes, that was one of them. So. So a funny story. One time, if you've ever been in a band in Jacksonville, I'm sure so many of you have gone. You're playing at a club and nobody shows up. You have like 2 people show up, and the bartender, and he's already sick of your music. And we played a show, and I want to say it was downtown, somewhere around the London Bridge, where it's Hardwick's now, but a bunch of times ago it was the London Bridge. And there was nobody there. Even our girlfriends didn't show up. Like, nobody was there. And we played a show, and we still rocked out and put our hearts into it, and we're all sweaty. And we're kind of feeling bummed and frustrated because nobody showed up. So we just walked around downtown, and we ended up at Dos Gatos. And they were doing karaoke in there. And Jason and I, we were bummed, and we were frustrated. We're like, man, nobody was there. Everybody's here doing karaoke. Nobody came to see us. We're just kind of like moping and stuff. There was like a bachelorette party there. There was some kind of like sorority thing there. Everybody's having a great time singing like YMCA and Love Shack. So Jason gets up there and he says, I want to take care of this. So he puts on a song and he plays and sings Everybody Hurts by REM. Now, I love Jason's voice. Everybody, it was a point of contention. So many people with our bands were like, man, I don't like his voice. And I love his voice, but I also love Geddy Lee from Rush. So I don't know if my opinion really matters on that. But he got up there and he gave the performance of a lifetime. He put so much emotion and so much soul in that. Everybody hurts. Everybody in that place stopped and was looking. There wasn't a dry eye in the place. And he gets done, and he comes down and sits down, and the place is all quiet now. He's like, that's better. That's one of my favorite stories, Jason. There's so many stories I have, but I'm gonna keep those to myself. And cherish those. And thank you for letting me talk. God bless you all.
Hello, my name's Elena, and I did not get the privilege to know Jason for as long as most of you, but I would like to share how I met Jason because it was very impactful for me, but as I came to figure out, it was just who he was in another day in the life for him. So we were in the same place at the same time, and I must have looked uncomfortable because he came up to me and asked me if I was okay. And I said yes. But there's someone here who has been talking to me, and I would just like them to leave me alone. And he looked at me, and he said, you're safe. And he proceeded to get to know this gentleman and to figure out one way where they could connect, and then took that as an opportunity to befriend this gentleman who was being irate, but that's not what Jason saw. Jason saw that he was someone who was hurting, and he was someone who needed to be heard. And as I got to know Jason, every single adventure we ever had was filled with those moments where whoever he passed, he took a moment of his time to share with them to make sure that they were okay. And in a world where we need more people just like him, I am extremely sad to see that he is no longer here. And I just wanted to share that memory because I, from hearing everyone tonight, feel like that is the epitome of Jason. He didn't see people for good or bad. He saw them as people, and as people who needed to be seen and heard. And that's all I have. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Richard Levine. At this particular time, I haven't been as connected to Jason. We worked together at the JCA is there anybody else who worked at the JCA here? I don't know. probably for about 8 years, maybe, from like 2004 to 2012, if that's something like that. We were really good friends there. I remember when he got to the JCA, we were like, this guy is way too cool to work here. This isn't gonna work. He sat down in his little cubicle with Holly Arnold. God bless you, Holly. I love you to death. The nicest, sweetest woman in the world. Maybe not the bastion of hip that Jason is. So to watch them share an office was a pretty spectacular thing. Our relationship was about things we liked. It wasn't about people. It was like about Tarantino. It was about stuff that we loved that most people didn't get, that I suspect a lot of people in this room get, and that's why you're here. Like everybody else, I was a frustrated DJ, even though I made like a real living doing something else. Like everybody else, wanted to be a DJ. And so music was the most important thing to me, and that's a common theme tonight, obviously. And when I walked in tonight, not having been connected to Jason for so long, the tears came immediately, because the first thing that happened is I heard a beautiful song emanating, and it was Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead. And oh my God, like, if, God forbid, this is gonna be me soon, that's what I'd be playing. So I suspect that Jason had those types of connections with lots of people. Didn't have to be that song or that thing, but my God, I can't figure out if he was an extrovert or an introvert. I mean, I know he was an extrovert, but he was into so much stuff. When do you have time? Like, I don't know how it all happened. But the last thing I want to say is that when, over the past 10 years, as we sort of lost touch, I maybe would bump into him once in a while at the center of the universe, Trader Joe's, obviously. He'd be with his daughter, and the fact that we lost touch never really bothered me, because I admired him so much for being the quirky character that he was, and then embracing the most important role in life, which is being a parent. Whatever was going on before he was a dad, it's not that that stuff was over, but he put it all in the right place at that point. And so the fact that him and I didn't stay as close, it didn't bother me even remotely, because I knew that he was doing what he needed to do, and I respected it a lot. And I'm sure for women as well, but for men, this is something that happens. Sometimes we lose our friends because they have to pick the most important priorities in life. I wouldn't say I lost Jason as a friend, but as you know, if he was somebody in your life and all of a sudden you were getting less of it, you felt it. You missed him. He was that kind of person. So I just want to say that I loved him very much. I regret that we didn't get to spend as much time together. I'm sure that's how everybody feels. And I'm grateful that there are so many other people who saw what I saw. It makes me feel really good. Thank you.
So don't judge me, please. I don't even know where is this the microphone? Okay, I'm super short. I apologize. How do you, yeah, I'm only 5'1", so I apologize, I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. Thank you. What's your name, sir? So, Jason and I were friends for, gosh, like 20 years. And he was always there when you needed him. Like, I remember my dog came into my house, went through the dog door, killed a baby possum, and left it in the middle of my living room. And he came in and, like, cleaned it up. Like, it was the sweetest thing because I was like, I don't even know what to do with this right now. I'm like, there's a dead possum in my living room. And he lived like 2 miles from me. So he came over and cleaned it up at like 11 o'clock at night. And then, of course, my dog, tried to be his best friend. But, like, Jen was, pregnant with Harper at the same time I was pregnant with Aurora, and Harper was born 2 months earlier, and I don't know, like, they were close friends until Aurora became a little different than the way that Harper, like, they just had different interests. But I'm sorry, I'm not good at public speaking. I apologize if I sound like a crazy person. But yeah, like, our daughters were super close, and then our moms did Zumba together before COVID. And, like, him and I were close, and we went on a cruise together, and we got to play with monkeys and lizards and birds together, and it was so fun. And it's just tragic, and I really am not good with this, so I apologize. Thank you, guys.
Hello, my name is Teresa. I met Jason's mom, Christine, at Jazzercise over 10 years ago. We did a contest together, and our team name was Jazz Cats. We won t-shirts, which I may not still have. However, my friendship with Jazz Cat will never go away. For many years, we attended Zumba classes, and since we lived close together, we would take turns driving. During those drives, we shared so many stories. Many of those stories were about Jason. I only met him once in person. However, I feel like it was more times because I know him through all the stories Jazz Cat shared with me and his many fun posts on Facebook. Jason, when we met, you made me feel special, and I could feel your loving spirit. That loving spirit will always be with me.
The family wants to thank you all for coming. And in true Jason fashion, don't feel like you have to file out quietly. Come look at pictures, mingle, sign the jersey. His jerseys, his bike, everything is such a memory. So please enjoy yourselves and spend some time together just like he would want us to. Thank you again.